Hi, my name is Brian Lucy, and I'm going to take a look at the Elysia Alpha mastering compressor in a series of short videos. This first one, we're just going to look at knobs, buttons, and controls and talk, hopefully quick and not too boring. And then we'll get on to 2, 3, 4 more segments that do some processing of audio. We'll do some stereo processing, some mid-side processing, and some advanced mid-side processing. Elysia is a fairly new company. They're German, and Ruben is the designer. Dominic, his partner, is the guy you talk to if you contact the company. He used to work for SPL, Ruben did, and he designed the Transient Designer, which is one of the cooler pieces of the last decade or so in terms of innovation. Very innovative, and this is an innovative piece as well, to have so many things in one box, so easy to get at and so easy to A/B and compare. It's been great for me in the 9 months or so that I've had it, and it's made clients very happy, and I'm thrilled to have it. It's really what I've been looking for a long time. And let's get over to looking at the piece, and we'll get on to processing some audio here shortly. So on to the faceplate. Okay, so here's the faceplate. There's really a lot going on here. I'm going to try and go through it as quick as I can. Threshold attack release ratio here and here, just as you would have on any compressor. Here you've got a mix control, mixing between the fully direct and the fully compressed. Here you've got gain makeup, 12 dB, starting out with half, 1.5, 2, kind of subtle, and these are these are pots rather, but they are detented here. They've got a little marking. They click as you go along, so you can, without looking, you can bring this up in increments. And a soft clip feature here, which is really handy for fattening up transients that are lost on super loud material. Just bring that up a little bit, and the light comes up here, orange light, which comes up stronger as it gets to be more of an effect. This section here is EQ, and this is sidechain. And if we were in the normal left-right mode, you probably wouldn't even bother with those. But if you go into the mid-side mode, and this is channels link, this is unlink, so this is the most powerful setup, then you might get into EQ tilting the mid, EQ tilting the side, perhaps side chaining the mid only. And the EQ tilt is basically picking a frequency between 20 and 2K, or between 2K and 20K, and that's your center frequency. And then as you boost, you're shelf boosting above and cutting below. As you go this way, you're shelf boosting below the frequency that's the center, and you're cutting above. I use it within a 1.5 dB plus or minus range, usually less than that. Excuse me, although it does go up to plus or minus 3 dB. Sidechain gain, high pass, low pass, and everything in between. This is great for just grabbing the kick and the bass maybe, or just the kick or the low end of the kick, or the opposite, for letting the kick and then go through and grabbing the bass and everything above it, or letting the kick and the bass go through but grabbing everything above it, or letting everything go through except what's above 3K3, which is kind of a de-essing effect. All of those can be useful, particularly on this left section, which is the mid section in the mid-side mode. This is direct in and compressed in, so let's say we're in mid-side mode unlinked. This becomes a thing where you can solo the side, solo the mid, solo the compressed in the mid, solo that versus the direct in the mid, etc. So a lot of features there, and if these are all out, then you get nothing. So that's very handy in terms of breaking it down and seeing where the problem areas are. You might solo the side and realize something that you hadn't really thought of by listening to the whole stereo mix, or vice versa. You might solo the mid and say, oh, you know what, there's some mud in the low end. Instead of cutting an EQ across the whole spectrum, let's leave the outsides to be as full as they were, and let's go in and maybe put this center at 220 and boost this by like a half a dB, where we're shelving below 220 and boosting above, and then we're kind of opening up the mid but leaving the meat in the sides. Whereas if you went and actually cut 220 on the whole stereo program, you would be affecting the outsides as well. So using this in real subtle ways is great. This is 0.3 as a first notch, and even just engaging it, you get a little active EQ sound, which can be helpful. So there we have it. This is a transformer, which is a softening. I don't use it a whole lot. This is a feed forward mode, versus the standard feedback mode, which is more aggressive and changes the tone a little bit. Again, I don't use that a lot. These two are kind of interesting because Ruben did the transient designer. You've got auto fast attack and auto fast release technology brought over from that, where if something's popping through, let's say what I call barstool drums, which are, you know, thud thud thud, real thin, crossing across right to left, you can do auto fast attack, maybe leave this off, so now it's going to grab those really hard, but it's going to let them out at the speed of the release. Or maybe it's going to grab them and let those off really quick, but it's not going to affect your overall attack and release for the side. Or if the center section is super compressed, you might put in the auto fast release and try and get it to pump a little bit, or even play with the auto fast attack, or both, or something like that. So that can be useful as well, and that's a unique feature to this box. And that's pretty much it. So when we go through it, we'll start with some stereo stuff where this will all be off and this mid-side mode will be off, and we'll just be linked in channel link in stereo. Then we'll go to mid-side mode and get into all the other features. The unit is very hot, and that's why this faceplate, I'm assuming, I mean they didn't tell me this, but I'm assuming that's why they've raised this. It's not just to look silly or be, you know, something unnecessary. There's actually a lot of heat on this plate right here. It's really quite warm. This none, and these none at all. So it's very smart, really, to kind of raise this up. It's about 100 watts, I believe. I keep saying it's 100 watts to myself, so I'm going to check the manual, but I think it's 100 watts. And but you don't notice any of that because it's elevated here. And what else? Oh, some people had mentioned that maybe these were kind of hard to read. Now, you're not going to be able to see it in the video, but they're very easy for me to read. But if they weren't easy for me to read, I'll just say that it would be totally irrelevant, because when I use the thing, you know, I'm not looking at the numbers. And when I go to notate what I've done, you know, I've just got the sheet here. I mark it with the Sharpie. That's it. So I never actually read these numbers. So to me, it kind of makes sense that they're relatively small, because they would just be distracting, you know, from what is a very clean and simple design. So if you're somebody that, you know, doesn't want to take your glasses on and off and doesn't want to mess with that, you really don't have to mess with it. You know, the only time you really need to look at it is maybe if you want to just go for a frequency point, like say 280 here, or let's say 140 here, and you look down and you say, oh, that's where it is. But you know, like with anything, you use it a few times and pretty soon you sort of memorize where all this stuff is. So that's the faceplate. I hope that wasn't too long. The manual is very helpful, and anything that wasn't clear you can check in the manual. I find it very intuitive and easy to use, and you know, if you demo one, you'll find out that it's really quite easy to do some very powerful things and some very subtle things very easily. And that's all I got to say. Okay, thank you.